We're going to get right into it. Champs. We're going to talk about them. Stanley Cup champs. Who do you like?
I mean, I'm going with the front runner here a little bit, but I got Carolina. I mean, this is a team that's been knocking on that door for years, and it seems like last year was that injury, right? The big injury up front to Svechnikov, and it just kind of changed it. Earlier in the year, it was Max Pacioretty to the left. That was the addition to add a goal scorer. And they're just a team that I know they're going to be on the top of most people's list as far as favorites, but the additions they made, Bunting, Orlov, DeAngelo, I love it. They got a little grittier. They got a little meaner, but I also want to watch the development of Necas. He was awesome last season. Seth Jarvis, I think, is the key to this club. If he can kind of take that next step, I mean, they've got everything. They check all the boxes for me.
And for me, Rupper, I went the same way, and I know it's a little bit boring when you're going with the favorite coming in, but for the reasons you mentioned, and the defense is what it is to me. You look 1 through 6, absolutely stacked, plus you have depth. And to go along with this Svechnikov coming back and the growth that we saw in Marty Necas last year, he's becoming a star. And then Seth Jarvis, when you add that to the mix, Bunting as well, this is a really balanced team and a team that's been sitting there knocking on the door. Yeah. Is it finally their time? And if there was a year for it with the moves they made, I'd say it's now.
The odds that we have courtesy of DraftKings. All right, so those are the easy ones. Our dark horse. We need one. Hickey, you're up first.
Okay, let's go with the Dallas Stars. When I look at a team, there's a lot of things that you want to have, and they've got the cornerstone piece in goal in Jake Oettinger. I think he's a guy that's going to really fight for a Vezina trophy. You look at the top line with Hintz and Joe Pavelski and Robertson. This is a stud first line that can keep you in games, win games, no matter what. You look on the back end, Miro Heiskanen. So all those things you put together, you've added Matt Duchene, Wyatt Johnson's a year older. All of a sudden, you got a team that's a dark horse, but I think a team that I look to quite high on to be a contender for the Stanley Cup. And let's add one more thing in there, and that's experience. The experience of defeat in the conference finals last year, and then take it a few years back. This is a team that's been to the Stanley Cup final, didn't win, and I think you learn a lot of lessons for all those reasons. The Dallas Stars are a team for me that I could see winning the Cup this year.
They got some good young studs who can really drive. A great goaltender, too, in Jake Oettinger. I'm going to go, this is one that I think that people aren't giving enough respect to, and it's for what they've done in the past. 3 of the last 4 Stanley Cup finals, 2 Stanley Cups. Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't sleep on this group. You got a motivated Victor Hedman, a motivated Andrei Vasilevsky. They kind of called themselves out after this last season, said they've got better. I think that was this past season, or off-season, I should say, was the first summer where they've gotten some rest. And you've got the best goalie, I think, in the world. You've got 2 of the top 20 defensemen in the league. I mean, you can argue up front with Braden Point, Kucherov, and Stamkos. For me, those are 3 of the top, put the number on it, 30 forwards in the NHL. So, I mean, you've got a lot of things to answer. I think John Cooper's probably top couple coaches in the league. That you're cooking with gas. Like, you're going to be motivated here. I think Tampa will surprise a lot of people.
I think you guys nailed it. But we need more information, all right? So we go from our NHL players to meet 2 more members of our team, our fantasy analysts, Pete Jensen and Anna Dua. Let's start there with the Stanley Cup guys. Dark horse, who do you like?
I'm going to side with what Thomas was talking about with the Dallas Stars. I love how they got better this offseason with the addition of Matt Duchene. Just 2 seasons ago, 40-goal scorer, right? He has bounce-back appeal in fantasy this upcoming season. And then also look at maybe a new kid on the block, new star on the rise, you could say, Logan Stankoven. There were 2 players in the WHL last year that had 2 or more points per game, Connor Bedard and Logan Stankoven. I'm going to have my eyes on training camp down in Texas to see if he can crack this team and round out that 3rd line or maybe even 2nd line. I love it with the veterans they have, Ben and Sagan, and then the new kids on the block, Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston.
Anna?
Robert talked about not giving the Lightning enough credit. You know who we also aren't giving enough credit to? The Pittsburgh Penguins. Listen, they barely missed the playoffs last season. I know that game against Chicago is haunting Pittsburgh right now. But what happened to the last team in? The Florida Panthers made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And once you're in the playoffs, everything else is all squared out. And they got Sidney Crosby, 90-point player. Evgeny Malkin, still a point-per-game player. And, of course, they added Erik Karlsson. So can't count out the Pittsburgh Penguins this year, guys.
28-1 odds to win the Cup. I like it. Those are your Eastern Conference wildcard standings from last season.